So, in today's video, we're predominantly going to be talking about James Gunn. So, James Gunn is now officially nearly fully in charge of DC Studios alongside Pete Safran. He's just released, or Marvel Studios has just released under Disney, The Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, that has now done just over $520 million in the second week, which is cool because it means, in theory, the movie should gross, this is not how much money it makes, gross how much money it takes at the box office, should be over $700 to $800 million, which means it will turn a profit. And in comic book movies, that does not happen very often at the moment, because even Ant-Man 3 lost money, but will predominantly make money if you add the Blu-ray sales to it as well. So, yo, what is freaking good, YouTube? Wish you if you're new around, and make sure to subscribe to never miss any of the Marvel, DC, Kaiju, pop culture, Monsterverse, sometimes gaming videos that we do here on the daily. So if you could, subscribe to the channel, turn notifications on, check us out on Instagram at WarStew to see the beautiful face behind this beautiful voice. And also, if you could, check us out on Twitter, WarStewG. So, even though James Gunn has a fairly good track record when it comes to box office, being Guardians 1 did decent, Guardians 2 did decent, Guardians 3 somewhat did decent, there is a lot of people that are skeptical and think that he's going to completely flop the bag, take the L, and make DC Studios a laughing stock. So, if we look at his DC work that he's done, there isn't really a very good metric to look at. Why? Because Peacemaker did very good numbers, allegedly, on HBO Max, that's now called Max. We can only look at the numbers that are released. Obviously, these streaming services never actually give us official numbers, but you can only look at third-party apps that release data. And according to that, Peacemaker was received very well. But if you go by the Suicide Squad movie, there are a lot of people discredit him for, and to be fair, I'm one of them people, because although I like the Suicide Squad movie, I think it was very good, when it comes to how much money it made, pretty much lost money. And I know what you're going to say, it released in the time of the world where everything was closed and just coming up to reopen. And that's basically nonsense. Why? Because Godzilla vs. Kong, one of my favorite franchises, part of the Monsterverse, did just under $500 million. And that also got an HBO Max day-and-day release. So a lot of people like to use this HBO Max day-and-day release number as something to fall back on. But what you've got to realize is Shazam! Fury of the Gods, which was produced by Pete Safran. I've met Pete Safran at the UK premiere for Shazam 1 a few years ago now. He's a very articulate, nice guy. We had probably a 5-10 minute conversation. Such a cool, nice guy. That Shazam movie, Fury of the Gods, that came out, flopped really hard. So the reason why Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 doing well is good, because just because it's a Marvel movie does not mean it's going to make money. Ant-Man 3, that was essentially, I think it was rushed. They rechanged the ending a month ago, and they put the focus on Kang when really the focus should have been on the Ant-Man family. Sure, it took over just under $500 million, but the problem with all these movies are they cost too much money to make. So the Suicide Squad came out in 2021, starring Harley Quinzel, Bloodsport, and Peacemaker, a collection of nutters, cons at Bellevue Prison join the super secret, super shady task force as they are dropped off at a remote location. So it took $168 million and opened to a domestic $26 million. And a lot of people think they have no faith because of that number. Okay, you could somewhat say potentially 25% of that was what was going on in the world, but as I said, Godzilla vs. Kong came out, so you can't really say that. And even Mortal Kombat decimated the Suicide Squad. So why am I talking about this? Because recently it's come out that everyone knew this, James Gunn at one point was consulting for the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. He used to give several notes to the MCU movies during his stint at Marvel. Is this a good thing or is this a bad thing? We don't know, because you've got to factor in inflation. The year the movie came out, Iron Man 1 didn't really make much money if you compare it to, say, Captain Marvel that did $1 billion. You've really got to compare the year and then add inflation, etc. So recently it came out an article came out and said, Gunn revealed the full extent of his MCU oversight prior to jumping ship, and it is worth saying that he technically was kind of fired, then went over to DC, and then came back over to do Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, but he was never actually officially fired. He was just publicly fired because it's Disney, and Disney had to do that. So, in a recent interview with a trade that I will not give them the clout on this channel to even say what trade it was, but let's just say it's a trade. I was consulting on everything he said. I was consulting on all the Marvel movies. Marvel Studio President Kevin Feige would send me the script for Spider-Man. Now, I presume this means Spider-Man Homecoming, because it says Doctor Strange as well and then Captain Marvel. I'd give him note. He'd send me the script for Doctor Strange and Captain Marvel. The first Doctor Strange movie didn't make great money, but it made money. Captain Marvel absolutely banged. But let's be honest, that did happen in between Infinity War and in between Endgame. And they did basically say that you had to watch Captain Marvel, which realistically you didn't, although I think it was a pretty decent movie. And I give notes on all the scripts. It was really as a friend and as somebody who was part of the team and a team player. Gunn also touched on his role as one of the key architects of the cosmic universe corner of the MCU, insisting that he was always intended for other filmmakers to run with the characters and concept he introduced in Guardians of the Galaxy franchise movies. So that's a pretty cool piece of information. So it almost, because everyone knows Kevin Feige wants to be in charge of everything one day. That's his ultimate end game. He's not happy being in charge of the MCU. He essentially wants to be in charge of everything. So it seems like at some capacity, at some time, they were lining up Gunn to be in charge of the cosmic side of the MCU, which I guess he kind of was. This tracks with Gunn's previous comments regarding the future of the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise when the filmmaker publicly gave his blessing to continue without him. Although they would have done it anyway. Gunn's dismissed the notion that it would be disloyal of the studios to develop additional Guardians of the Galaxy movies. Now that his trilogy has wrapped, well, they basically set up a new team at the end of the movie, if you haven't watched it already. But if you watch a channel like mine, you would already know that. He also expressed interest in seeing the characters who survived Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Okay, did anyone die in that movie? No. Appear in their own solo movie as part of the MCU franchise, such as the Avengers. Very interesting. And it also went on to say Gunn's revelation that Gunn provided feedback to other MCU directors will likely come as a surprise to some fans. It's actually in keeping with how Marvel Studios operates. I don't think this actually adds any supporting evidence that Gunn is going to destroy the DC universe, because he's pretty much got a blank slate, because at the end of the Flash movie, it's going to set up a new universe that will in turn into something pretty cool. And I believe the ideas he's got will be pretty cool. I think he will somewhat take the best of the DCEU, maybe not use it, but take them ideas, maybe adopt them, maybe change them, but realistically reinvent and reunite the DC universe and make a brand new universe. And his movies were very successful at Marvel. Even if you don't believe that, he does have a very good track record. He's got full creative control, which he somewhat had to a certain degree at Marvel, hence why they gave him the first F-bomb in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, although Feige didn't want him to do it. Feige is the creative control, really. He's the EP. He could have cut that scene out. He could have told him to redo it, but he didn't. So it is cool that we're going to get to see James Gunn have free reign over whatever he wants to do. And some people think this will mean there's going to be corny animal jokes, corny animals in every single movie. I don't think that's the case. I think Superman is definitely in good hands. And also I think Batman's in good hands, because he understands the movie has to be about the story, the emotional drive. And James Gunn's very good at doing action sequences as well. I don't care what anyone says. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 has one of the best Marvel action sequences ever. So a lot of people have taken this as fuel to say, yeah, look what he did at Marvel. He ruined Marvel because Guardians didn't bang $1 billion. We're obviously talking about Guardians 3, Volume 3. Well, the first one didn't bang $1 billion either. Even if you had inflation, okay, maybe with inflation, but that doesn't really count, does it? No. But realistically, what people are trying to say is he failed at Marvel because his last movie in the franchise. I'd go as far as to say Guardians is one of the most successful trilogies ever, like period, from a financial point of view and also from a story-driven narrative, which is realistically what Ant-Man 3 lacked and what Thor 4 lacked and what a lot of Marvel movies recently have lacked. James Gunn brings in the narrative story, which essentially is the reason why people keep saying the superhero fatigue. There is no superhero fatigue. There is bad story fatigue. So likewise, let me know. Are you going to support the DCU? Are you going to be a hater before he's even brought anything out? I mean, people already criticizing his Superman movie before he's even filmed it. That's ridiculous. And people already discrediting who he's casted as Superman before they've even been cast. So likewise, guys, check us out on Instagram at WatchStew to see the beautiful face behind the beautiful voice. Check us out on Twitter, WatchStew, and I will catch you in another video, guys, very soon. Catch you later.